What if, in just a few seconds, one move from Jimin could completely change the energy of an entire stage? What exactly did Jimin do in Toronto that left ARMY talking, replaying the footage, and wondering whether they had just witnessed something completely unexpected? And perhaps even more interestingly, why did the dancers around him appear to become part of the excitement? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are taking a closer look at one of the most talked about moments from Jimin's performance in Toronto. At first glance, it may look like just another powerful concert moment. But when you slow everything down and pay attention to Jimin's movements, his expressions, the dancers around him, and the reaction from the audience, there is much more to the story. And stay with us until the middle of this story, because that is where we will get to the moment that has ARMY asking one very simple question. Wait, what did Jimin just do? BTS is currently on its massive Arirang World Tour, and Toronto became another major stop on this highly anticipated journey. The group performed at Rogers Stadium, with concerts taking place on August 22nd and 23rd, 2026. Reports surrounding the Toronto shows also highlighted the enormous enthusiasm from ARMY, with fans showing incredible energy despite challenging weather conditions. But in the middle of such a massive production, one person once again managed to capture an extraordinary amount of attention: Jimin. For someone watching a concert from a distance, a K-pop performance can sometimes look simple. The artist sings, the dancers move around them, the lights change, and the music continues. But professional stage performance is far more complicated than that. A performer has to control their body, maintain timing, follow choreography, communicate with dancers, connect with the audience, manage facial expressions, and often continue singing at the same time. And Jimin has developed a reputation for making those difficult elements look almost effortless. That is one of the reasons his Toronto performance has attracted so much attention. The footage circulating among fans shows Jimin on stage in an extremely energetic atmosphere. The stage lights reflect across the floor. The audience surrounds the performance area. The dancers move around him, helping create the visual story of the performance. At first, everything seems completely normal. Then Jimin makes a move, and suddenly the atmosphere feels different. Fans immediately noticed it. Some viewers reacted as if they were still trying to process what they had just seen. Others focused less on Jimin himself and more on the dancers surrounding him. Their reactions made the moment feel even more energetic. This is where things become particularly interesting. Several fan accounts shared clips from Jimin's Toronto performances, with fans praising his stage presence and highlighting the way he seemed to command attention throughout the performance. But before we interpret what happened, there is something important to understand. A short concert clip does not always provide the complete context. A particular movement may have been fully choreographed, and a reaction that looks spontaneous from one camera angle may actually be part of the planned performance. So while fans may interpret the moment in different ways, we should be careful about presenting speculation as confirmed fact. But that does not make the moment any less fascinating. In fact, the uncertainty is part of what makes fans want to watch the footage again and again. What happened immediately before Jimin made that move? Was it part of the original choreography? Did Jimin add something to the performance? What happened immediately afterward? And why did the dancers appear to match his energy so perfectly? Those questions are what transform a few seconds of concert footage into a story that people want to discuss. Because a great live performance is not simply about executing choreography. It is about creating a moment. And Jimin has repeatedly shown an ability to do exactly that. His background in dance has always been an important part of his performance identity. His movements can be delicate and controlled one moment, then powerful and intense the next. That contrast is one of the qualities that makes his performances so recognizable. A small change in posture can completely alter the mood of a performance. A change in facial expression can make a movement feel more dramatic. That connection was especially noticeable in Toronto. The dancers were not simply standing behind Jimin. They were part of the visual language of the performance. In large-scale concerts, dancers help establish rhythm, shape formations, create transitions, and emphasize the main performer's movements. When all of these elements work together, the stage begins to feel like one moving story. Jimin moves. The dancers respond. The music builds. The audience reacts. The lights shift. And suddenly, thousands of people are experiencing the same moment together. That is the magic of live performance. And Toronto provided the perfect environment for such a moment. The concert was part of a massive world tour, meaning that Jimin and the other BTS members have been traveling, performing, and maintaining intense schedules across different locations. Every city brings a different audience. Every audience brings a different energy. And every performance presents an opportunity to create something memorable. For Jimin, that connection with the audience often goes beyond simply singing the songs. He communicates through movement, through facial expressions, through eye contact, through smiles, through the smallest gestures. That kind of communication can make thousands of people feel as though the performer is speaking directly to them. And that may be one reason why this particular Toronto clip has resonated so strongly with fans. It does not simply look like a performance being executed from beginning to end. It feels like Jimin is completely immersed in the moment. Earlier in Toronto, fans also shared moments in which Jimin responded to the audience's requests, including a moment connected to Filter, where he sang part of the song and danced for fans. Moments like these demonstrate how live performances can evolve depending on the energy inside the stadium. And that is an important part of understanding what happened during this particular stage. A concert is never exactly the same twice. The choreography may remain consistent, but the atmosphere can change dramatically. The audience may be louder. The performer may feel more energized. The dancers may respond differently. The timing of a gesture may feel different. Even the smallest variation can make one performance stand out from another. That is why experienced performers learn not only how to follow choreography, but also how to live inside it. And Jimin appears to have that ability. He can follow the structure of a performance while still making the stage feel personal. That is an incredibly difficult balance. Because on a large stage, even a tiny mistake can become visible to thousands of people. A performer must remain focused. They have to know where they are standing. They have to know where the dancers are. They have to maintain timing with the music. And at the same time, they need to look relaxed. The audience sees confidence. Behind that confidence is extraordinary concentration. And when everything comes together, the audience does not see the effort anymore. They simply feel the performance. That is what happened during this moment in Toronto. The movement itself may have lasted only seconds. But the reaction continued long after the moment ended. Fans began sharing clips. Screenshots appeared. Comments multiplied. People replayed the same footage. And suddenly, a few seconds of a concert had become one of those moments that fans wanted to discuss. But there is another layer to this story. Why did the dancers appear to become so important to the moment? Because dancers can often reveal something about the energy of a performance that the audience cannot immediately see. When dancers are fully synchronized with a performer, their movements can amplify the performer's presence. But when a performer brings a particularly strong energy to the stage, that energy can also influence the dancers. It becomes a feedback loop. The performer gives energy to the stage. The dancers reinforce it. The audience reacts. That reaction gives even more energy back to the performers. That is why a concert can feel completely different from watching a music video. A music video is carefully edited. A concert is happening in real time. Anything can feel more intense when thousands of people are experiencing it together. And Toronto was no exception. The weather itself had already become part of the story surrounding the concerts. Reports described rain during the Toronto performances, yet the enthusiasm from the audience remained extremely strong. That makes the atmosphere surrounding these performances even more remarkable. Imagine standing in a stadium filled with thousands of people, waiting for BTS. The lights go down. The crowd begins screaming. The music starts. And then Jimin appears. For many fans, moments like that are not simply entertainment. They are memories. For older and longtime fans especially, there can be something deeply emotional about watching an artist they have supported for years standing on a huge stage in another part of the world. The songs may bring back memories. The choreography may remind them of earlier eras. And seeing Jimin continue to grow as a performer can create a feeling that goes far beyond a single concert. That emotional connection is one of the reasons BTS performances continue to have such a powerful effect on their global audience. But now we have to return to the moment that started this entire conversation. Jimin is on stage. The dancers are around him. The audience is watching. The music is moving forward. And then Jimin suddenly changes the energy. It is not necessarily about whether the movement was planned or spontaneous. The real story is how effectively Jimin made the moment feel spontaneous. That is a skill. A very difficult one. A performer can know every movement in advance and still make the audience believe they are witnessing something completely new. That is stage presence. And Jimin has repeatedly demonstrated why he is considered such a captivating performer. But there is still one detail that makes this particular footage especially intriguing. After Jimin makes the move, attention shifts toward the dancers around him. Their energy appears to rise with his. And that is when viewers begin asking themselves, was this simply choreography, or did Jimin add his own unexpected flavor to the moment? We cannot know for certain without official confirmation or the full performance context. But one thing is undeniable. The moment was memorable enough to make fans stop, replay, and talk about it. And that may be the greatest compliment a performer can receive. Because ultimately, a successful stage performance is not measured only by technical perfection. It is measured by what remains in the audience's memory after the music stops. A song ends. The lights eventually come back on. The dancers leave the stage. The crowd begins to go home. But one particular moment can stay in someone's mind for days. Maybe it is a smile. Maybe it is a dance move. Maybe it is a look toward the audience. Maybe it is the moment when the entire stadium screamed at once. And perhaps for many ARMY in Toronto, that moment was Jimin suddenly turning an ordinary section of choreography into something unforgettable. But we have not reached the most interesting part yet. Because there is one specific moment in the footage that deserves a closer look. It is the moment that caused fans to focus not only on Jimin, but also on the dancers around him. What exactly happened? Why did the energy suddenly shift?